Hi, good morning, everyone. So, welcome to our daily briefing for today. And let's start by taking a recap on last Friday's data. All right. So, first thing is we have the retail sales for UK monthly basis for the month of December. So, the previous data was 1%, and the market forecast at negative 0.6%. And the release time last Friday was 3 p.m. And the actual data, it was negative 3.7%. So lower than the market forecast and the previous data. So this one is not a good data overall for the retail sales data for UK. And followed by the retail sales as well for UK, but this time we have the yearly basis for the month of December. So the previous data was 4.3% and the market forecast at 3.4%. So same goes with the release time, 3 p.m. last Friday. And the actual data, it's still in the negative figures around negative 0.9%. So did not beat the market expectations as well and the previous data. So let's see what happened on the pound against the dollar. So the price of the British pound against the dollar moved in a range for about 21 pips 1 hour after the event, and it ended with a bearish trend for about 13.3 pips. So obviously, did not, or the British pound against the dollar did not benefited from this data. That is why last Friday we can see a sharp decline on the pound against the dollar. And as I mentioned um, during our key product, that the British pound, there's a possible that the price may decline since the data for UK last Friday is expected to be much lower. And based on the technical side, the faster EMA already crossed the slower EMA on the 4 hour time frame. So which indicates a possible confirmation that the market will go down. And it indeed that the British pound went down sharply last Friday. So followed by the retail sales for Canada, monthly basis for the month of November. So the previous data was 1.5% and the market forecast at 1.2%. And that list time last Friday was 9:30 p.m. So the actual data, negative figure as well, around 0.7%. So did not beat the market expectations and also the previous data. So the USD CAD, the price moved for about 17 pips after the event or 1 hour after the event, and it ended with a bearish trend for about 1.4 pips. So obviously the USD CAD benefited from this data since the base currency here is dollar. So the Canadian currency went down slightly, and it helped the USD CAD boosted its price for about 17 pips. And for today's economic data, so during the European session, we have to focus on a lot of things. So later at 4:30 p.m. we have the manufacturing PMI for Germany, and also we have the services PMI. So the manufacturing PMI is expected to be much lower since the previous data was 57.4, and the market consensus around 57, and also the services PMI previous data was 48.7, and the market consensus is 48. So both data is expected to be much lower for the Germany manufacturing and services PMI, and also we have the Eurozone manufacturing PMI, and we have the services PMI as well, and followed by the manufacturing PMI and services PMI for UK later at 5:30 p.m. So the Eurozone manufacturing PMI is also expected to be much lower since the previous data was 58 and the market consensus at 57.5. And also the PMI data, services PMI is expected to be much lower as well. So 53.1, the previous data, and also the market consensus at 52.2. But however, the manufacturing and services PMI for UK, in my own opinion, it will be a neutral data for this one since the previous data was 57.9 for the manufacturing PMI, and the services PMI, however, is expected to be much lower. So still, I'm expecting a neutral effect, but I will be focusing more on the euro currency pairs later. So for the US session, We have to focus on the manufacturing PMI as well, and also the services PMI later at 10:45 p.m. So the US manufacturing PMI is expected to be much lower as well, or slightly lower, 57.7, and versus the market consensus at 56.8. And the services PMI is 57.6, and market consensus at 55. So let's see what will happen later for the euro dollar and a lot of currencies. And for today's key product, of course, we have the euro against the US dollar. So as of the moment, during the Asian session, the current price is around the 1.1330 territory. So if we are going to base the structure of this market on the technical side, we can obviously see that on the 1 hour chart, the faster EMA already crossed the slower EMA, and which means that it indicates that there's a possible decline for the day for the euro dollar. And also, I've already explained that majority of the euro data for later is expected to be much lower. So if the market data for eurozone was lower and it beats the or lower than the market forecast, then we can see a possible decline for the euro dollar. But for today's support, I will be focusing more on the 1.1310 territory and also the 1.1276 area. But however, on the alternative side of trading, if let's say the eurozone data beats the market expectations, then we might see a possible move for this price or for this pair to move around the 1.1368 and also the 1.1394 for the key resistance, respectively. Once again, for the European session, we have to focus on a lot of things. So we have a couple of manufacturing PMI and services PMI data, majority on the Eurozone. And for the US session, we also have the manufacturing and services PMI for the month of January as well. All right, so for this week, we have to focus on a lot of things. Aside from the services and PMI data, we have a blockbuster data for this week, which is the interest rate decision for Canada. That will be on Wednesday. And on Thursday, we have the Fed interest rate decision. So definitely it will create a lot of volatility in the market. So we have to be cautious for this week. And that will be all for our daily briefing today. Thank you everyone for joining. Stay safe and have a great day.